All right, welcome everybody to Pittman and Friends podcast, and I have my friend Jon Korin, who is the chair, you can tell me what your exact title is, the leader, I would say, of BikeAAA, Bike Anne Arundel County Bike Advocate Group. Welcome.
Thank you, Stuart. It's great to be here.
You know, I wanted you here not only because what you do to get trails and safety and access on roads and all of the things to make Anne Arundel County more multimodal for pedestrians and bicycles, but also just because your organization has been kind of unique in the way that you've done advocacy, and we'll get into that. But I first just want to start out by thanking you for always holding our feet to the fire.
It's a labor of love. I mean, I was told when I got into advocacy, I was advised patience and persistence, and I've had to use both. So, we're on a mission, and we're not going away.
Yeah, and that I've heard that there have been other jurisdictions who have bicycle advocacy groups that are also pretty committed to the cause. But it is really important because it is so hard to make the transition from our completely car-centered way of transportation to what we wish we had when we go to other jurisdictions, other countries sometimes, where they have bicycle infrastructure. And it's just amazing how many people use it.
Yeah, and it's actually a myth that some people think, the Netherlands, it was always like that. Mm-hmm. It's not true. They had to retrofit also. It wasn't always like that. They built an auto-centric and infrastructure, just like we've done here. But they came to a point earlier, they came to a point in the 70s where kids were getting killed in the street, and there was a public uproar, and they made a commitment to retrofit and build out the safe biking,
kids
walking
who were
infrastructure that they enjoy today that's completely separated from the roadway. So
the kids were getting killed on bicycles, you mean, because they wanted to use bikes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and we've seen some of that here. So tell us how this organization started. Yeah,
so if I go all the way back, I still consider myself somewhat of a newbie to Anne Arundel County. I've only been here since 2011. Okay. My wife and I moved here just as we picked this as the next landing spot after the kids were out of the house and we were getting close to retirement. We knew the WB&A Trail. We used to live in Montgomery County. Mm-hmm. We used to drive to BWI Airport, get a bike down the WB&A Trail, crab cake sandwich in Annapolis, and then back.
Oh, yeah.
So when it came time looking for where's the next place to live, we ended up picking a place that was nearby the WB&A Trail.
Really?
Yeah. That was part of the spec on a house. We needed to have a place that was close to good bike infrastructure. Mm-hmm. I retired a year after that, joined Leadership Anne Arundel's flagship program.
All right.
I biked down to the William Peka house, where the opening retreat was. There were 2 bikes down there. Uh-huh. I was the oldest in the group. The youngest in the group also biked down there. We took on a group project, 6 people, that had the simple label of how do we make Anne Arundel County more bike-friendly. And we set about talking to people to find out what was going on in the county, what was missing, typically looking for a project that could start and end during the 9-month program
of Leadership Anne Arundel.
Leadership Anne Arundel. But what we found out quickly was that there was no local bicycle advocacy group here. There's one in Baltimore, Bike More. There's one in Howard County. There's one in D.C. and surrounding jurisdictions. There was none here. We said that's our gap. We can fill it. And by spring of that year, we were incorporated. And by fall 2013, we were 501c3.
A really important gap, too, right? Because we're the cross trails of Maryland. And so.
Absolutely. We're the capital. Mm-hmm. Here in Annapolis, we're the capital of the state. We've got the largest employer in the state. Mm-hmm. It's some great trails like the WB&A Trail, but a lot of infrastructure that just isn't connected.
So, first of all, why is it important?
It's important for a host of reasons. If we can get a few more people biking and walking, and I will say we advocate for people walking also. Okay. Cyclists are something of a tribe, and we're sort of organized. Mm-hmm. Almost everyone is a pedestrian.
How about electric scooters? Are they part of your team?
Micromobility.
Okay.
all forms of micromobility. Now, there are some forms out there, and we may get to this later, that don't actually qualify as micromobility. But, all forms of micromobility. We'd like to see people who have a choice to leave their car home, and especially for short trips, nationally, 50% of car trips are 3 miles or less.
Yep.
We think there's a fraction of people who, if we can make it safe to get from home to destination, will leave the car in the driveway and walk, bike, scooter, use some form of micromobility. If they do that, they've relieved a little bit of traffic congestion, which is typically one of the top concerns of people in this county. We promote health. People are out getting exercise during their commute, protecting the environment. And today, the very top issue in the county is affordability. And we usually talk about housing affordability, but if we elevate that conversation to affordable living, for most families, transportation is the second biggest family cost.
Really?
And so if a family can go from, let's say, instead of two-car family, go to a one-car family because of commuting or getting around by transit, walking, or biking, you've reduced the cost of living for that family without subsidy, just by eliminating a car. So you have all of those benefits. And then perhaps most importantly, there are people who don't have a choice, who don't have an affordable or in some cases a legal choice to travel by car. And so for people who have no choice but to walk, bike, or use transit, we need to make it safe and accessible for them.
Yep, absolutely. And it's extraordinary that so many modes of transportation we used to have and be better at. We used to have more trails. We didn't have highways. We used to have more trains. We used to have more transit. And now we've gotten so addicted to these huge, incredibly expensive, like you say, cars. I mean, I assume that a big part of the cost of transportation is the purchase of the car.
Yeah, it's a combination of both the cost of the car, the maintenance of the car, the fuel, the insurance. It's everything. When you look at the life cycle of automobile transportation, again, that's what makes it typically the second greatest cost for a family after the cost of housing.
So I don't know how many miles of roads we have. Do you know how many miles of trails we have?
I know that we have approximately 95 miles of bike infrastructure in the county. I know that because one of the very earliest things we advocated for was a county bicycle advisory commission. And we advocated for that early on. It was created in 2015. It launched in 2016. And our very, very first question is the question you just asked me. How many miles of bike infrastructure have we got in the county? And nobody knew. Well, who knows? The cycling community, we know. So we created an inventory and categorized it all by infrastructure type. So the very, very best type is trail, completely separated from the roadway. Right. But there are also on-road bike lanes, sharrows, and protected lanes and so forth. So we categorized it all by type, by who owns it, because I did not bike here today, full disclosure, but I often do. For me to bike to the Arundel Center from my house in Severna Park, first I'm on a county road, that's County Public Works. Then I'm on a county trail, that's County Rec and Parks. Then I'm on Route 450, past the World War II Memorial and over the Naval Academy Bridge. That's State Highway. Then I'm on King George Street. That's City of Annapolis. I need all of these jurisdictions working together to create a network. And we have all the jurisdictions at the table. So we have an inventory now of where all the existing infrastructure is and also all of the in-process infrastructure. What's in study, what's in design, and what's in construction. So we track it. So that's how I know.
You've got a beautiful map that shows it, and it's pretty straightforward. And you've got your solid lines that are built, and you've got your dotted lines that are in process, and then I think the gray ones maybe are planned but not yet.
So, there's good news and bad news that. So what you're referring to is the Anne Arundel Trail Network, and if you want to learn more about it, just go to annearundeltrailnetwork.org. That is a joint product of BikeAAA and the Anne Arundel County Bicycle Advisory Commission.
Right.
It shows visually how we would like to see all of the existing trails connected to one another and how that trail network can connect to neighborhoods where people live and to destinations that people are trying to get to, whether it's work, school, shopping, recreation, library, doctor's appointment, what have you. Because we know somebody's decision to bike or walk someplace is only as good as the worst segment that they've got to traverse from home to destination. So the more we can get it connected, the better. When we developed that, as you said, there were a variety of gaps in the network. And I'm happy to say today that every single place we have a gap, there is some level of activity underway. Mm-hmm. There's at least study, in some cases design, in just a few cases construction. And it's not all county. Some of it is SHA. Mm-hmm. Some of it is City of Annapolis. And we would love to see a little more of it be developers. Mm-hmm. There are some sections. I mean, one of the most notable ones is in Odenton, Town Center Boulevard. When they put that big development in, the developer put in fully separated shared use path, a trail, if you will, that's parallel to Town Center Boulevard. That it goes under Route 32. It's a really, really critical gap in the network, and that was created by a developer. So government's got a role,
so we got legislation before the council on that. Well, let's get into that in a minute. But let's first talk about the. I know you're frustrated. I don't know how you can tell us how frustrated you are, whether you're ready to give up or not. I don't think you should be that frustrated because of the fact that as you just said, there's something in process everywhere to close the loop. To be able to get from Odenton to Annapolis, to be able to get even into Annapolis from the B&A Trail isn't quite there yet. We're working on that. Broadneck Trail is almost done. The New Bay Bridge, they're saying it's looking like having a bike and pedestrian across the Bay Bridge in the future. It'll be many years.
We will soon have trails facing one another across the Chesapeake Bay. As you mentioned, the Broadneck Trail, which goes from the B&A Trail to Sandy Point State Park, is nearly complete. Over on Kent Island, they've already got the Cross Island Trail that starts right at Terrapin Park at the foot of the Bay Bridge and continues east from there. Yep. We would love to see those two trails connected on a fully protected bike pedestrian lane on a Chesapeake Bay replacement.
And we finally have the bridge over the Patuxent River to Prince George's County that we cut the ribbon on recently with the county executive, and it's part of the WB&A, right, which is a big connection. I know the way I think of it is you can ride from Odenton to Bowie now between our counties, but it's a much longer It's a
13-mile stretch. It's just about the same length as the B&A Trail. It's 13 miles from Odenton, right near the MARC station, all the way to Lanham in Prince George's County. And there's work underway to get that. There are gaps in Prince George's County. They're trying to get that connected to Greenbelt, where you can pick up a trail that'll get you to the Anacostia Trail, which will get you right into D.C. The goal is one day we'll ride from right here down to the D.C. monuments entirely on trail.
So I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole about why it takes so damn long for the government to build stuff, but there's a whole political movement around it. There are books people are writing about how absurd it is, and they're actually mostly being written by Democrats like Ezra Klein and Abundance, about how hard it is because of all the regulations that we've put in place, that some of which make sense and maybe some of which don't, to actually build anything. And as a case study, building out the trail network in Anne Arundel County would be a pretty interesting one for somebody to look at. Why is it taking so long? Do you have any suggestions?
I see the symptom of how long it takes and the continuous delays. It's hard for me to entirely see under the hood to get to root causes and what exactly is the fix. I think in some cases we don't have adequate government resource applied to managing the projects. I think in some cases we may not have adequate training. When we receive a federal grant for trail building, it comes with a lot of regulation and a lot of compliance. So it's great that we get the money, but that extra level of regulation and compliance requires expertise, requires time. But sometimes it's just plain human error. The WB&A bridge steel that wasn't certified being delivered to a tough-to-get-to job site, that's human error. Some human, I don't know where, some human made an error, and so some of it's just plain human error.
So that steel sat there for months while they had to get it.
It cost us a year. I mean, nothing happened for a year. Yeah. But there are other projects that are small projects that can go in quickly. I'm familiar with a project where A developer near Jones Elementary School, a little infill development, a little lot, was able to tuck 4 houses in there right between the B&A Trail and Jones Elementary. So only a couple of 100 yards from the B&A Trail to an existing path on the school property, but no shoulder. You'd never let your kid ride that couple of 100 yards. We work with the county, and the developer put a sidewalk in that connects the trail, the 4 houses, and the school. And now kids who have access to the B&A Trail also, from their home, also have safe access to the school from the B&A Trail. That'll get another fraction of people, kids, biking to school. So sometimes it's just small connections like that can really make a big difference and don't take a lot of time.
Yeah. So I'm not ready to give up, and I know you're not ready to give up, but I'm not ready to give up on the whole concept of making government more efficient, making it possible to move faster. And what gives me hope, it won't happen during my time in office. We won't get to where we need to be. But the fact that so many people are recognizing the problem now and pointing their finger at it, and that there's so much public anger at government for being inefficient and impatience, I think government has no choice but to really figure it out. We have had work groups. We have had internal work groups that have come up with things. Like you say, it's partly staffing and resourcing. And so we don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough people in public works or in inspections and permits. They're having to contract with folks because we've got a huge volume coming through. We've got all this federal money, and we've got a lot of capital projects that are being built all at the same time with the same people trying to do them. Public-private partnerships help. We're using the Resilience Authority now to manage some projects to get it outside of the bureaucracy and all of the red tape. So I'm optimistic that if the public and you and the big thinkers in the country are continuing to put pressure on, that the politicians and the bureaucracy work together and figure out how to move things faster. So hopefully the next county executive will be committed to that, and we'll see some of these things move faster and also lower the costs as a result of moving them faster.
Absolutely. If we can compress the time frame from study to design to construction to completion, we not only realize the public benefit sooner, but it will save money because we know time is money. Time goes by, and cost of supplies, cost of labor, all only go up. So there's a return on getting things done quicker.
Yeah. So when the government decides and the people decide that they want to build public infrastructure, then it's a public expense, as it should be, an investment. But there are also rules that private developers are required to follow that are applied by the government because they're in the public interest for various reasons. And we have adequate public facilities laws, and they've been applied mostly on the transportation side of APF to roads. And we've got a bill before the council that is an attempt, anyway, to get the developers to do like what you just described, where the developer actually builds the trail, the bigger sidewalk, whatever that infrastructure is that's multimodal. Can you, and I know that you've been on a work group that started, I think, was it even before my administration or early in my administration? I know we at least restarted one, the traffic APF work group to go multimodal, and we've done the walk and roll and the move Anne Arundel transportation plans. So we know we have to take that next step of, unfortunately, going to developers and saying, as part of your APF, multimodal requirements will be there, and that's hard to do because it's expensive. Can you tell the listeners what the purpose, what the intent is, what we're trying to get to, and maybe some of the challenges?
Yeah, there are 2 critical deficiencies in the current transportation APF, Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance. One is that it is focused on roads and vehicles only to the exclusion of other modes being walking, biking, and transit. The second glaring deficiency is that the current APF only focuses on capacity and congestion, and it cares nothing about safety. So it can lead you to add a new lane or add a turn lane or something that might improve congestion, at least in the short term, but can make safety even worse, especially safety for people who are walking and biking. So the new APF is designed to do two things. One is go from a single mode vehicles to multi-mode, again, walk, bike, transit. And second, to focus not only on capacity, but to also focus on safety, and safety for all modes. So, yeah, we absolutely have to do that. And I want to also make the point that we don't expect everybody to walk and bike. There are people who just aren't going to do it because of choice. There are people who have disabilities, there are people with mobility limitations, age, etc. We don't expect everybody to bike and walk. We expect a greater fraction than we currently have, and we think there's a big benefit for the people who continue driving, because that'll just be a few less cars on the road.
Yeah.
If we try to pave our way out of this, we only exacerbate the problem. You get a little near-term relief if you add a lane, but eventually Google Maps and Waze will bring more people to that area with more capacity, and then it will only get worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got to do it with some mode shift.
Right.
But we know that we don't expect mode shift for everyone.
So, and we don't expect this bill to solve the problem and overnight in any way. But I think I talked with Jansen Evelyn in a previous podcast about the transportation APF bill. We're at a point now where it's been introduced to the council, and there have been concerns expressed by developers. A couple things. One is just a general cost, and they want to know what the costs are going to be going in, even if they're going up. And the other is knowing exactly how it's going to work so that they can plan a project with certainty and not be at the whim of the regulators about how it's going to work. So at the very least, we have to do those things. It's still a heavy lift.
I think there are ways to improve the current bill that will simplify it so that both the public and the council and staff can understand and digest it more easily. That will put the emphasis on safety in all modes, as I mentioned, are the principal objectives. And three, will provide greater certainty to developers so that they know what we're facing. What we've seen historically, because we did get a bill passed through the council, 6-7 years ago, called BPTA, Bike Pedestrian Transit Assessment, that requires a look at a development and what's around it, and are there network connections. And what we found is that I'll say the enlightened developers were looking for ways, and we've had developers come to us and say, what do you think we should put in this area, because we would like to promote this new development as being walkable and bikeable. And we've provided suggestions. And so we've seen developers sort of opt in to how can we do that. And we've seen other developers that just are looking for, how can I just write the smallest check possible and get past this?
Right.
We hope over time more enlightened developers will, but not all will see it that way. And so regulations got to do that. We've got to mitigate traffic not by increasing capacity. We've got to do it by making it safe and accessible to travel, especially for short trips. It's so sad to see the lineup of minivans and SUVs in front of an elementary school every morning and every afternoon. Now, I know that for some families it's a matter of family schedule and commuting and so forth. But if we can make it, again, we don't expect all of them to walk and bike, but if we can make it safe, we'll get another fraction of the, and then that's less traffic for everybody.
Yeah. And I very much respect the approach of make it safe and build it and they will come. People aren't going to start, riding their bike until it's possible and it's safe. So the whole wide world knows that some folks from the city of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County and a few from the state went to Sweden. Another group, I guess, went to the Netherlands the previous year. I wasn't part of that crowd. But it is shocking to be in Stockholm and see the amount of traffic that moves through the city in different modes. And it's really, you do have to be careful when you cross the street, because you've got the trolley, you've got the bus, you've got the bike path where people are really moving right along, and you got to look both ways. And then you got the cars, and they actually have the ferries going on too. If you look into the water, it's pretty extraordinary with all that. But we took one day where we rode bikes. We rented bikes, and the group was, maybe 25 people, 30. I can't remember the exact number, but with a range of skills on bicycles. And it was a little scary. The Swedes they knew exactly where they were going, and and we were kind of all over the place. But nobody got hurt, and we went quite a distance, and we had a hell of a good time. Some people were sore the next day. But man, we could move so many people through our towns.
It can be done.
cities.
I mean, look at DC today and DC 20 years ago. So much infrastructure has been built out for safe biking and walking and micromobility, scooters, et cetera.
Yeah.
There's been a shift in mode, and that's a benefit to everyone, including people who drive, because it's a few less cars on the road.
Yeah.
One of the things I just wanted to come to is sort of an all ages, all abilities perspective on this. It was interesting to me that Anne Arundel County had a slogan, the best place, and then you added the best place for all.
Yeah.
And BikeAAA went through a somewhat similar transformation. We started out with a mission to promote safe bicycling for transportation, recreation, and fitness. And we listed those in that order: transportation, recreation, and fitness. But somewhere along the way, we added for all ages and abilities. We brought on a board member, Rachel Varn, Pedal Power Kids, who is focused entirely on children, on safe biking for children. Learn the skills early, and then it becomes part of a lifestyle. We brought on another board member, Sandy Bishop, who has 3 adult children with disabilities and is very passionate about independent mobility for people with disabilities. And she launched our Cycling Without Age program. We have devices called Trishaws, which have a bench seat for 2 in the front, accessible. Even people that are wheelchair bound can get in and out. And then we have a volunteer pilot in the back. We're taking seniors who otherwise are in social isolation out for trail rides at no cost. We have 3 of these now. We have a program called Wheels of Hope, where we collect donated bicycles, kids' bikes, and adult bikes. Volunteers refurbish them. As you know, the program is housed on the Crownsville Hospital property.
Yep.
We're very proud to be one of
the
at the food bank, be one of the tenants that's already using that property to give back to our most vulnerable segments. And so most of our
when we're done there's going to be a lot of good trails to ride those bikes on. When they pick them up, they can take them for a test ride.
The South Shore Trail will have a spur there, and then of course we've got natural surface trails that will be going in there as well. So we've really tried to embrace this all ages, all abilities. When we're looking at infrastructure, we're looking beyond just ADA compliance. Sometimes ADA compliance is not enough for a 3-wheel bike.
These little skills parks, right?
We set a goal to develop the first bike safety park for children in the county. In Europe, they call them traffic gardens. Here, they call them traffic gardens, or in some cases, bike safety parks. We had none in Anne Arundel County. Our first one went in 2022 or so up at Lindale Middle School, adorned with art. Fantastic project. We had Leadership Anne Arundel. We had Anne Arundel County Public School STEM students involved in that. The middle school art program.
So kids ride the track and just
they ride the trail.
Fun.
Families can go, and we now have 3 of these. We've got the one at Lindale, Seven Oaks Community paid for one. And then we have one going in. That's the striping is already in. The art should go in soon at Bacontown Park. Grant-funded project. So, it's a great place where families can bring their kids anytime they like, let them ride. And then we also run programs for children at these places. We also refurbish a lot of children's bikes. So right now, we're accumulating bikes coming into the holiday season.
My twin boys were not learning to ride bikes very quickly. It seemed like we needed to do something to help it along. Maybe they just didn't trust me because every time I let go, I don't know, I pushed them over or something. But so we sent them to a little camp, and I don't know if it was something that you all organized.
That's Pedal Power Kids.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. I mean, they came out of there so confident.
Yeah. We want to start early, and it becomes a life skill.
So if anybody wants to know more about BikeAAA and how to get involved, or even find people to bicycle with.
Yeah, BikeAAA is Bicycle Advocates for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. Our website is bikeaaa.org, and you'll find all kinds of resources there. Information about the trail network, bike shops, bike clubs, all kinds of resources for every age, every ability.
And they're good people to hang out with. So, yep. You got a good crowd. Well, thank you so much for doing the work that you do. I know that we would not be where we are, even though we're not as far as we'd like to be, but we would not be where we are had you not organized and Leadership Anne Arundel hadn't gotten you all together and started this organization. So please keep it up, and I will continue to encourage all of the electeds and county staff and everybody that I can talk to about ways to move things faster.
Well, it's been a great partnership. I mean, we have wonderful working relationships at every level within government agency, from the worker level right up to the county executive and everyone in between, and also with a variety of levels of government. So
you managed to push without pissing us off.
That's why I like to think of myself as a patient, persistent, professional pest.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Jon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right.
You're listening to the Pittman and Friends podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button, share with a friend, and join us for the next episode.